If there's one night I wish I could erase from my memory, it's the night I realized someone had been watching me for longer than I thought. I live on the second floor of a quiet apartment building. Nothing fancy, just an old 2-bedroom place with creaky floors and a window that looks out into the parking lot. I work late, so I usually get home around midnight, heat up leftovers, and fall asleep watching something on my laptop. My routine is boring, but boring felt safe. This happened on a Thursday, a cold, windy night. The kind of night where it feels like the whole street is asleep. I got home around 12:30, cued off my shoes, and went straight to the window to pull the blinds shut. I don't know why, but for a split second, I hesitated. The parking lot was completely empty. Just rows of parked cars and the flickering yellow streetlights. Nothing unusual, but something felt off. Like someone had been standing there just a second before I looked out. I brushed it off and started heating up dinner. The microwave hummed loudly in the quiet apartment. I remember thinking how silent everything felt. No cars, no footsteps, no neighbors arguing through the walls. Just dead stillness. Around 1 a.m., I finally got into bed with my laptop and started watching a random video. I wasn't even sleepy yet. At some point, between one video and the next autoplay, heard it dot, tap, dot, a single, sharp tap on my bedroom window. I froze. My window was closed, blinds shut, curtains drawn. Nobody should be outside my window. It's on the second floor. I paused the laptop and listened. Nothing. I told myself it could have been a branch or something knocking in the wind. Even though I don't have a tree near my window. A few minutes later, I heard it again. Tap. Tap dot, this time lighter. Almost like someone dragging a fingernail across glass. Every hair on my arms stood up. I whispered to myself, it's just the wind. Relax. Deep down, I knew it. WASN. Single quotes. After maybe 10 minutes of silence, I worked up the courage to peek. Not fully, just a slight lift of the curtain corner. Enough to see a sliver outside. What I saw made my stomach drop out. In the parking lot, right across from my building, was a man. He was standing dead still, directly facing my window. Not moving, not shifting his weight, just staring upward. I slammed the curtain shut so fast, I knocked over my water bottle. My heart was racing. I grabbed my phone and hovered over the call button. But I didn't want to be that person who called the police over someone standing in a parking lot. It could have been a neighbor, right? But something didn't feel right. He wasn't standing near a car, not walking, not on his phone, just staring upward. I sat there in silence, listening so hard I could hear my own heartbeat. Another 15 minutes passed. I convinced myself he must have left. But then, just as I was starting to relax, I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. This time, it wasn't on the glass. It sounded like it was coming from inside the wall. I felt sick. My apartment walls are thin, but not hollow. There shouldn't be space for anything to tap inside them. I pressed my ear against the wall and listened. There it was. A faint scrape, slow and dragging, like fingernails lightly moving across the drywall. I backed away immediately. I didn't even breathe then. A whisper, faint, muffled. But I swear to God, I heard it. I can see you. My blood turned to ice. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911 without thinking. While I was talking to the dispatcher, something happened that I still don't understand. The tapping stopped. The scraping stopped. But I heard footsteps inside my apartment. Not loud ones, slow, careful steps, like someone trying to move quietly, but failing. I stayed on the line, whispering to the dispatcher, telling her someone was inside. She told me to stay hidden and stay quiet. Officers were on the way, but I wasn't thinking clearly anymore. My door was locked, the windows were shut. There was no way anyone could have gotten in. I looked toward the hallway in front of my bedroom. Pitch black. The footsteps had stopped. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then a shadow moved, slowly, a tall shape, drifting across the wall like someone standing just around the corner. I couldn't see a face, no details, just a silhouette. I held my breath until my chest hurt. Then I heard the front door pounding. "Police? Open up." The shadow vanished instantly. I ran to the door, opened it, and practically fell into the officer's arms. They came in, searched the whole apartment, checked the windows, the closets, everything. But they found nothing. No footprints. No signs of forced entry. No one in the parking lot. No one in the hallways. One of the officers told me it was probably my imagination, mixed with late-night exhaustion. But as they were leaving, the younger officer pulled me aside and said quietly, "You're not the first person in this building to report someone tapping on the windows at night." I asked him what he meant, but he just shook his head like he'd already said too much. The worst part? Later that morning, when the sun came up, I went to open my blinds. On the outside of my window, on the glass, near the corner, were 3 long, faint scratch marks, thin, evenly spaced, like fingernails. I still don't know who that man in the parking lot was, or how he got close enough to scratch my second-floor window. But I do know one thing. Some nights, when the wind is quiet, I still hear the tapping. I used to think apartment hallways were the safest part of any building. They're lit, monitored, shared by neighbors. Nothing bad is supposed to happen there until one night proved me completely wrong. This happened last year when I was living in a small 4-story apartment building near my college. I was on the 3rd floor in a 1-bedroom unit at the very end of the hallway. Quiet floor, quiet neighbors, nothing unusual. I'd lived there for 2 years with 0 issues. But during the winter, I started hearing noises at night, faint footsteps, soft, dragging sounds on the carpet. Sometimes a doorknob rattled far down the hall. I always assumed it was someone coming home late. College kids, night shifts, normal stuff. I didn't think much of it until the night I realized the noises weren't coming from the other apartments. They were coming from right outside my door. It was around 2 a.m. I had headphones on, working on an assignment, when I heard something, a single, slow creak from the hallway. I paused my music and listened. At first, nothing. Touch, creak, creak, like someone leaning their full weight against my doorframe. I muted my laptop completely. I waited. Then I heard it. A breathing sound, slow, deep, controlled. I quietly got up and walked to the peephole, already creeped out. But instead of putting my eye to it, I leaned in slowly. I almost put my face up to it, but something told me not to. Instead, I turned off the hallway light inside my apartment so, I wouldn't cast a shadow under the door. Then I crouched low and looked at the floor gap. That's when I saw it. Feet, bare feet, right outside my door, motionless, facing directly toward me, not moving, not shifting, just waiting. My throat went dry. I backed away slowly and grabbed my phone, but before I could even unlock it, there was a soft knock. Not a normal knock, not even a polite one. A slow, single, knuckle tap, tap. I didn't say a word. Another tap, 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 then a whisper. A quiet, breathy, almost cheerful voice. "I know you're awake." Swear, I felt my entire body lock up. The voice wasn't anyone I knew. It was low, whispered, almost playful, but something was wrong about it. Very wrong. I whispered, "Who's there?" even though I immediately regretted it. The voice chuckled, a tiny, raspy laugh that felt too close to the door. Then the whisper returned, "Open it." Just for a second, I stepped back, shaking. "No? Who are you?" Silence. Then the whisper, no longer playful, dragged out, "Don't make me wait." I thought about calling the police, but I was terrified. The sound of dialing would be loud enough to provoke whoever was out there, so I quietly reached for the kitchen drawer and grabbed the only thing I had, a metal spatula. I know how ridiculous that sounds, but in that moment, it felt like a weapon. Another tap hit the door harder. Then another. Then a slow, dragging sound moved upward along the door. I realized the person was running their fingers up the wood. I couldn't breathe. Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Heavy ones. Someone else was coming up the stairs. The feet outside my door turned sharply. I saw the shadows shift under the door. Then a fast, pattering sound. Like someone running barefoot at full speed down the hallway. The heavy footsteps got closer. Then a man's voice yelled, "Hey, what the hell?" I stayed frozen until the loud footsteps stopped at my door for a second. Okay, I thought it was the same person. Then a deep voice said, "You okay in there?" It was my neighbor, Kai from 3B, who worked night shifts. I opened the door immediately. He was standing there, breathing hard, looking shaken. He pointed down the hallway. "I saw someone standing at your door," I yelled, and he sprinted downstairs. Fast. Like, unbelievably fast. I asked, "Did you see his face?" He shook his head. Just weird, long hair. And he wasn't wearing shoes. We walked down the hall together. No one was there. The front door to the building was closed. No other doors had opened. The guy vanished. The next morning, I went to the building manager. He checked the security cameras. What he showed me still makes me sick. At 1:58 a.m., the camera caught a tall, thin man with long, messy hair entering the hallway from the stairwell. He wasn't wearing shoes. He wasn't carrying anything. He looked at each door as he walked by. Then he stopped at mine, and he stayed there for 19 minutes, just standing, barely moving, facing my door, leaning in closer at moments dot. Then the camera glitched for a split-second static distortion, and suddenly he wasn't at my door anymore. He was standing at the other end of the hallway, like he'd teleported. Half a second later, my neighbor ran up the stairs, and the barefoot man sprinted downward so fast the camera couldn't track him. The manager paused the footage and looked at me. "I've never seen anyone move like that. Is someone stalking you?" I told him I didn't know, because I truly didn't. He called the police. They searched the building, checked stairwells, questioned neighbors, but nobody recognized the man. No one saw him enter. No one saw him leave. No camera caught him outside. It was like he appeared out of thin air and vanished the same way. The part that still keeps me awake. 2 nights later, at exactly 2 a.m., someone slid something under my door. A piece of paper. Okay? Stared at it for an hour before picking it up. There were only 4 words written on it. Shaky handwriting. Smudged ink. "Why didn't you open?" Late night parking lots always creeped me out, but I never expected one to nearly ruin my life. This happened about 4 months ago when I was working the closing shift at a small electronics store. Our store shut down at 11 p.m. and it took another 30 to 40 minutes to clean up and lock everything. Most nights I left around 11:45. My coworkers usually parked near the entrance, but I always parked farther out because I hated squeezing between cars. I liked the space, the quiet, the calm walk back to my car. But that night, the quiet felt, wrong. The store had just closed, and everyone walked out together. 2 coworkers turned left toward their cars. My car was on the far right, almost at the edge of the parking lot. I waved goodbye and headed off alone. The lights above were flickering. The wind was barely moving. Everything felt too still. I clicked my key, fob, no beep. I tried again. Nothing. I sighed and walked faster. Great. Battery must be dying, I said out loud. That's when I noticed something. There was a man standing near the far corner of the lot. Not moving. Not pacing. Not looking at a car. Just standing there, facing my direction. But he wasn't facing me exactly. His head was tilted slightly down, like he was staring at the pavement at first. I assumed he was a homeless person or someone waiting for a ride, but he didn't have anything with him. No bags, no phone in hand, no car nearby, just stillness. I got that tight feeling in my chest, the instinct that says something is wrong. I kept walking toward my car, pretending not to notice him. My footsteps echoed, a soft crunch of gravel under my shoes. The fluorescent lights hummed above me. Then I reached the car, pulled the handle, and the door opened. Guess the fob had worked after all. I sat inside and locked the doors immediately. I took a breath. Then I looked up at my rearview mirror. The man was closer, about 20 steps closer, still, standing perfectly still, head tilted down, still staring at the ground. I froze. He hadn't walked while I was looking at him earlier. Not once, but somehow he was 20 steps closer. I whispered, "Nope, not dealing with this," and started the car. The engine turned on, but the moment it did, the man lifted his head, slowly, deliberately, like he had been waiting for that exact sound, and he was staring directly at me, not at the car, not at the headlights, straight at me. His face was blank, expressionless, not angry, not sad, nothing, just wide eyes and a slight tilt of his head. I shifted into reverse, my hands shaking, and pulled back fast. The moment my car moved, the man moved a dot, not walking, not running. He glided, like his upper body didn't move, but his legs took long, silent steps, and he was coming straight toward me. I threw the car into drive and sped toward the exit. I didn't care about speed bumps or cameras. I just needed to get out. When I reached the stoplight at the lot entrance, my heart was pounding. I forced myself to look in the mirror one more time. He was standing at the far end of the lot again, back where he started. Not breathing heavy, not out of breath, just standing, watching, head slightly tilted. My chest felt tight, but I drove home and tried to forget it. But that wasn't the last time I saw him. A week later, came out of the store again after the closing shift. Same time, same dark parking lot, same flickering lights. I tried to convince myself it was just paranoia, but then I froze because the man was there again. Same clothes, same posture, same corner of the lot. Only this time, he was facing me already, not head down, not still, staring right at me. My throat tightened. I slowly reached into my pocket for my keys, never taking my eyes off him. He didn't move. I started walking toward my car. He still didn't move, but something was worse this time, much worse. I realized he was smiling, not a big smile, not a friendly one, a small, stretched, unnatural smile that didn't match his eyes. His eyes were wide, blank, empty, but his mouth was curled upward, frozen in a grin. I got in my car fast, locked the doors, and stared ahead, pretending not to see him. Then dash, tap, my blood ran cold. He was at my passenger window. I swear on my life, I did not see him move. 1 second, he was 20 yards away. The next, he was inches from my face, tapping on the glass with one finger. His smile was wider now, jaw tense, eyes unblinking. I whispered, "No, no, no, no," and started the car. I didn't even back up. I swerved around the parking spaces and shot toward the exit. He tapped harder, dash, tap, dash, tap, dash, tap, dash, tap, like he was excited. As I drove off, he didn't chase me, didn't shout, didn't move at all. He just watched me leave with that frozen, horrifying smile, the part that still haunts me. I told my manager, and he checked the security cameras. He called me into his office a few hours later. The footage showed me walking to my car. Nothing unusual. Then my car starting. Me pulling out normal dot, but the spot where the man had been, empty dot. There was no one tapping on my window. No one in the lot besides me. Not before. Not during. Not after my manager paused the video. "You sure you're okay?" he asked. I didn't know how to answer. I still don't, because because 2 nights ago, someone started knocking on my apartment window. Light taps, slow taps, the same rhythm, the same pattern. When I finally pulled the curtain back, heart racing, breath shaking, no one was there. Just a dim parking lot below my building. Empty, completely empty. But on the glass, right where the knocks came from, there was a single smeared fingerprint, pressed from outside. Which story scared you the most? Comment below and subscribe for more true horror stories.